you, Sangam. Let's move on to next session by Karthik. Karthik is an architect at Maya Data, and he's into design and development of tools for software testing, storage, performance benchmarking, and chaos engineering. Currently, he is one of the maintainers of OpenEBS and Litmus Chaos open source projects. Over to you, Karthik. Thank you.
Thanks, Saloni. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So we'll talk about chaos engineering today, and I'll just give you an introduction to chaos engineering and then probably share some ideas on how you can extend your CI/CD pipelines with chaos engineering. So that's probably what's going to be the agenda over the next 30 minutes. So we'll get started. There is this slide which we picked up from a conference called as GitLab Commit last year. And this is Dan from the CNCF who's actually talking about how applications are typically deployed. You can see that pyramid there, and there is a lot of code that basically you're not writing or you're not controlling. So if you are putting down your application on Kubernetes, then there are so many moving parts underneath. There's the Linux operating system, there's the Kubernetes itself, then there is your platform, application platform, and then your actual code. So there are a lot of uncontrollables there in your deployment, and you can never be sure of things. You can never be sure of the resiliency of your application, even if you follow certain best practices, supposedly. So there have been some outages, like you can see, I've posted a couple of them on the screen here, Slack, GitHub, etc. So if you notice, there was a brief outage on GitHub yesterday as well. So this is something that you would like to avoid, right? And how do you do it? How do you achieve resilience? So chaos engineering is one way to do it, probably one of the accepted ways to do it. So there is a lot of failure testing that has happened in the past. Some people call chaos engineering as old wine in a new bottle, but it just goes a little beyond that. So we'll just talk about it. What is chaos engineering? So this is a nice definition that I found. So failure testing that you might have already been doing as part of your CI/CD pipelines has a preconceived result in mind, right? You basically look for certain functionality that you are expecting as part of your test, but there are some unpredictable things that can happen, especially because the nature of your deployment environments, your eventual production or staging systems are not what your control environments in your pipelines are. So the usual engineering loop, if you sort of take out chaos engineering from the picture, is you basically have a lot of firefighting to do. Whenever you observe undesirable behavior in the system, you go ahead and have to do a lot of actions that are generally undesirable. There is a lot of firefighting, there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions. So you can avoid that with the chaos engineering loop. So we basically vaccinate your system, so to say. You basically keep injecting some faults in some levels and find out how that is going to impact your overall system. Then go ahead and fix it or tune it. And issues could be a software, or issues could be the way you've deployed it on your environment. It could be any of these things. So chaos engineering sort of helps you to proactively find out what the problems are and try to fix them. This is another slide. One of the things that you can see is the chaos engineering, the principles of chaos engineering is something that's pretty common. Whereas we've inserted something called as cloud native to that particular line there. You can see this cloud native chaos engineering. I think the reason we put that is today everything is moving on to Kubernetes, and when you say cloud native, you're actually intending to say Kubernetes native. That is what it effectively is. So what are the sort of characteristics around cloud native? We've tried to put that information there. We've sort of tried to define that. One is it has to be open source. The other one is that it has to provide some APIs which you can actually use, people can actually manage, and Kubernetes does that wonderfully well. There are some native resources, and then there are custom resources. Custom resources are basically something that's defined on an application basis. You want to automate some application behavior, you create some custom resources and controllers mapped to those custom resources. So they are already available or exposed as APIs by the Kubernetes framework. And there are a few other things here. You can see that we are talking about a plugin infrastructure. So there are a lot of chaos tools. Chaos as a concept was popularized by Netflix. If you sort of might have been tracking that. So over a period of time, people started applying those principles to Kubernetes, and there have been a lot of tools that have come up in the recent times post the containerization wave. So suppose you're already using something and you want to sort of reuse it in the context of a framework, then you might want to ensure that the framework sort of plugs in with all the other chaos tools that are there. So the plugin infrastructure is pretty important. And then because it's all in the open, you're collaborating with the community to do the chaos. There's no one definition of chaos for different sort of applications. Chaos might mean different things. So basically, it should be a community-driven effort, and that's what we're calling the cloud native chaos engineering. So, having said that, right, people are used to running their applications on Kubernetes in a particular way. People run their applications in terms of pods. They might use different other Kubernetes resources like PV in case you're using a stateful application. You might want to use a persistent volume to store all your data. So when it comes to chaos engineering, they really don't want to go out of this particular UX, or that's very simplistic term, but people want to have the same developer experience or an SRE experience around chaos and failure testing the way they would like with the way already have with the other applications or the other aspects like how you deploy your application or how you define storage, etc. So we thought that it is necessary to introduce a CR for doing chaos. So there's just one of them here. Let's say this is a sample. It's called Chaos Engine. You're basically trying to execute some experiments or chaos experiments. That's what they're called in the chaos world. So you have a hypothesis, and then you're going and implementing that hypothesis, and then you're looking at how the results turn out. So these experiments here are replica kill, read only, etc. for this Percona deployment that you have, and you're sort of trying to map it against an application which has a certain label and which is in a certain namespace. So this is generally talking about the experience that a developer or an SRE might crave when he is doing the experiments. So this basically, as you can already see, sort of needs that your experiments are containerized. So when you say you have a so-and-so chaos that you're going to inject on your application, you might want to run that as a pod. You might want to sort of put all the business logic of the experiments into a container and then run it. That's how typically you do it. There are certain cases where you might want to stay outside of the cluster to do certain failure operations. That's something that is also supported. For the moment, let us assume that a lot of chaos can be achieved just by running something on your cluster itself. So based on this need, we came up with this community called as the Litmus Chaos community. We started a project, and it started because we wanted to address the chaos engineering needs of a sandbox project called as OpenEBS, which is basically providing a storage solution, a containerized storage solution for Kubernetes. And it's grown in the last few months, I would say. We've had contributors coming in from the other organizations, so that's a positive. And we are trying to get accustomed to the regular open source governance of the project by having monthly community calls and open Slack channel and things like that. So how do you do actually the chaos? So you have some native resources here. These are probably the objects of your chaos. And then you have some resources which are custom resources specific to your chaos, called as the Kubernetes custom resources. You have the chaos engine, the chaos experiment and chaos result. We'll talk about what these are in a minute, very briefly. So you can see here that there is this chaos experiment resource, which is probably the primary one. It is defining all the chaos intent that you want to specify. What are the images that contain your experiment business logic? What are the libraries you're using? What are the permissions that are necessary to actually execute this chaos? So chaos, and when you sort of map chaos with security, you get a lot of combinations. There's a lot of concentrations you have to make. Ransi had an amazing presentation before this. So what are the permissions or the RBAC you would like to run your chaos with? That's probably very important to define as well. And then the low-level parameters of the experiment, what you want to inject. And that depends on an experiment to experiment basis. The engine or the chaos engine is another one which sort of binds an application instance with the chaos experiment. You might have different namespaces, different applications of different versions. You might want to do chaos on a particular version or a particular instance of an application. So this sort of binds your application with your experiment. And this is the user-facing CR mostly. The chaos experiment is all pre-built and off the shelf. You can pull it. And the chaos engine is something you're going to define. And the chaos result is runtime created. It is something that the operator uses for holding a detailed result spec. So for each application, you might have different key performance indicators. So when you do an experiment, you might want to package a lot of information as the supposed result of that application. It's not mostly a binary pass or fail, though that's what we generally start off with in the beginning. You want to put in a lot of information about your application specific context into your result. And then you might do a lot of things like you might create Kafka topics out of it. You might push it into Elasticsearch. You might do a lot of things with that infrastructure. So these are the custom resources. So now that we've established what chaos engineering is and what cloud native chaos engineering is, that is Kubernetes chaos engineering is. And we've also very briefly looked at what the resources are. What is the user's experience with this? So it's going to be something like this. You have a cloud native SRE. This is the SRE experience. We primarily have two personas, the SRE and the developers. You can sort of bucket everybody into either of these two categories is what our initial understanding is, though new personas might emerge as we go. So you have the SRE who is trying to pull experiments from a predefined hub. So this is something we introduced in Litmus. We are calling it as a chaos hub. The chaos hub looks something like this. So it has predefined off-the-shelf experiments that are specific to either general Kubernetes or which are specific to certain applications, popular applications, and we're in the process of trying to update and make it more rich, the hub in general. So you can pull experiments like this. A lot of common actions that you would anticipate would happen on your cluster. And when this happens in a certain deployment model, what is the result you want to observe? So these are all the experiments that you might want to pull from your chaos hub. You might want to tune them with your own parameters. You might want a different duration for the experiments run. You might have a different set of latency values you want to inject, things like that. So you might want to tune that and then create the chaos engine to map an experiment with an application instance. And then you go ahead and inject the chaos. The chaos runs, you get certain results. You already have a monitoring system in place, typically where you see how the application behaves. You derive some inferences, you go back and tune it. Yeah, so that is the general SRE experience. So what happens with the developer? So the developer probably might want to proactively do these things even before the SRE gets to do them. So you probably try to create your own experiments. That is the difference in the flow. You might pull something from the hub, might build on it based on your application. So you might be doing an application which is not really standard, or it probably has a very, very specific functionality. So you might create your own scenarios, your own suspicions, you might build into experiments, and you can actually run them and then put them back into the hub, so that if there are other people who are consuming your application, they have the opportunity to test those experiments in their deployment environments. That way you want some open source karma as well, and then you know that you're just guaranteeing that much resiliency more. So this is the developer's experience. So this is a very simple architectural representation of the Litmus. Let me try to push this off. Yeah, so you have the applications under test, and those are all your Kubernetes deployments or stateful sets. Then you have your chaos experiments, which are available off the shelf, or you might have created your own and kept a source for it in your GitHub repo, for example. You create the chaos engine. So this is reconciled by a controller, which is the Litmus chaos controller, commonly called an operator. We've created it based on the operator SDK. It has some secondary resources which it creates, a chaos runner, and the chaos runner is basically trying to run your chaos experiment, and it is also generating the chaos result. And the chaos result is then going ahead and pushing that result back into the chaos engine, there is some status you patch back into the engine about what's happening. And then there's also a monitor deployment, which is basically exporting some Prometheus metrics about your chaos in general. What is the cumulative count of your experiments and how many have passed, how many have failed, any other custom info that you would like to expose as part of your experiment. So this is what happens. So the chaos runner is an umbrella executor. It actually goes ahead and runs a different set of experiments in sequence that you might have defined as part of your experiment flow in the engine. And during the course of your experiment, this is what happens. You start the experiment and you take user inputs. You do a set of steady state checks. This is part of your hypothesis. So you basically check to see whether your app is really in a good state. And then you initialize your result resource to say the experiment has actually got started. It is starting with so-and-so parameters. Then you prepare your chaos infrastructure. You might have to take the help of some helper pods, or you might actually create the pod that is actually injecting your chaos experiment. And then you clean that up, do your post-chaos health checks. And the post-chaos health checks is then going to end your experiment, either with a success or a failure, and along with a lot of custom information you want to push. So this is generally a very simple representation. And if you are a developer who is already having some tests in your failure tests in your pipelines, which you feel is something that's necessary to be injected to know the overall resiliency in your staging setup or your production, then you can actually go ahead and containerize that. You can push it as a Kubernetes job. You can instrument it to become compliant with the Litmus chaos resources. And then you go ahead and create an experiment CR, which is then going to be pulled by the SREs or any others who is basically pulling it. So this is basically a verbal representation of the same thing that we showed here. So what is the advantage of converting it into a Kubernetes CR? So you can actually do the GitOps model. You can basically put it inside of a repo, and you can have controllers push it on your cluster whenever there are changes. You can set up execution filters, and you can automate to do continuous chaos. And this is basically just another representation of the same thing that I mentioned. The developers pull from Hub, push it back, and the SREs use it. Right. So that's the general model. So with this, I'm just going to show a very quick demo of the hello world of Kubernetes chaos, which is a pod delete, as you might have already assumed. So let me play this. So you can see here that there is a simple application. It's a product pages application, which is trying to store some details of some books or some products. And I have a pod, which is basically trying to emulate requests to that product page. That's what it is doing, and the traffic flow you just saw. And this is a setup which has 3 nodes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and install the Litmus operator. This is the docs for Litmus. The get started page has all the instructions you can use. So I'm going to create the operator, and the next step is actually going to be verification, just to say whether your operator is actually successfully running. You can also check whether your CRDs are installed. As part of this install, you also put all the necessary CRDs. And after that, you go pull your application from the hub. I'm just going to be racing a little bit on this demo to sort of ensure that we sort of move on quickly. So I can take questions about the procedure afterwards. So this is a simple experiment, like I said, a hello world experiment for Kubernetes chaos. So it's a pod delete experiment. So there is a chaos experiment custom resource that I'm going to pull. Right, so this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to install it in Litmus namespace. You can do it in the apps namespace and sort of keep your RBAC very granular and minimal, or you can have a pretty strong cluster-wide RBAC and have a centralized chaos management. That's also possible. So my experiment resources are available in the Litmus namespace. So I've done all my initial configuration, and I'm going to apply the RBAC that I mentioned, which is going to enable me to do the chaos. Before that, we'll just take a look at the chaos engine. This is the user-facing CR. And you can see that it has all the information necessary to map an experiment with an application instance. So the application is available, in the namespace called default, and it has a certain label. It has a unique label called product page, app equals to product page. The kind is a deployment. Annotation check is a way to minimize blast radius. You can set it to false in this case. I have a service account, which is going to give the necessary permissions to do the pod deletes. And then I have some experiment specific tunables, things like how long I want it to run and intervals I want the pod to deletes to repeat, and whether I want to do forceful, graceful deletes, or I want to do post deletes, things like that. Now I'm going to apply the RBAC that's going to enable me to run this experiment. It's already there, so you can see that it's unchanged. And now I'm going to create the chaos engine. I have a couple of terminals here, which is going to show what's happening when I do this. On the terminal here, I have the events that are getting displayed. So you can see that these are all the events generated by the Litmus components. Basically, it's saying your chaos experiment is getting started, and I can do a pre-chaos check. These are all the steady state checks that it's going to do. Right now, things are all going well. The traffic is all flowing. And you can see that there is a pre-chaos check. In this case, it's a very minimal one that says, okay, is my product page app really running? That's all the pre-chaos check is. You can choose to have a lot of other conditions there. Now the pod deletes have already started, and you can see that the traffic is really that the chaos injection is started, and there are some pods that have got created here, as you can see, that are killing the product page app pod. And this is basically going to stay like this. And you're probably going to have a lot of errors that you can see here. You can see the error percentage is sort of shooting up. There's only partial success because, and this is getting recorded because the app is getting redeployed. It's a deployment, so the product page pods are getting recreated, but still not an idle scenario. So what this experiment is trying to highlight is you have a suboptimal deployment. You deployed just one replica of the product page, and so you're vulnerable to this kind of errors. The user experience might not be very good, right? And that's what this is going to continue to show. And once I'm done with my total chaos duration, it's actually going to say that, okay, we finished with chaos. And once the chaos is finished, we are actually going to delete all the resources that were created to inject that chaos. Experiment passed. I just wanted to highlight this because it's not really passed. The reason why we are saying that is I've not added any post check that says, okay, I did not get this much percentage of successful traffic. That's a check that you can embed and say that the experiment actually failed. Right now, it's not really equipped with that. So it just goes ahead and says that, okay, the experiment ran, the app is available, so we pass it. So you can see that whatever resources were created here, the runner and the pod delete pods are all removed. And I'm also going to clean this up. I'm just going to repeat this experiment once again. And as part of the repetition, I'm going to scale this product page app to a couple of replicas. I'm going to build in some kind of HA that Kubernetes offers you. And then I'm going to repeat the same experiment. And this time, the expectation for me is the traffic is always 100% successful. Okay, so I'm just clearing the events as well. I just sort of not have the stale events, just continue them. So just before I'm going to run the experiment, I'm going to scale it. That's what I'm doing here in this step. You can see that the application is now scaled. Now I'm going to repeat the experiment. We're just looking at the pods to say that we have the right number of replicas on the product page. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the experiment. And as part of the repetition of the experiment, you can see that the same pod delete runner pods and the experiment pod are going to get created. And the events are all going to show up. This is the state. We had a gap of a few minutes. So it's all running well. There's been no chaos introduction till now. And we are actually going to create this job to introduce the chaos. And that's actually going to create a couple of pods in the Litmus namespace. You're seeing the default namespace here, which is probably why you're not actually seeing those pods, but these pods and jobs are all getting created in the Litmus namespace. And you're going to see this particular representation turn yellow, which is basically saying that we are operating in a degraded mode, but this traffic is still going through. That's what it's going to say. So you can see that the traffic is still 100% here. There are no errors that are getting shown up. So this is what your two replicas is offering you, an enhanced user experience, especially you're running a Black Friday sale or something like that. And you have a microservice architecture, which is probably much more complicated than what this shows. And one of the points about using microservices is just as they are disaggregated and really helpful, the surface area for failures is that much more. So you don't know what happens when what component fails. And you couple that with the dynamic nature of your Kubernetes. You have different Kubernetes versions that are coming every time. And then you have so many platforms. You might not want vendor lock-in. You might shift from GCP to AWS or AWS to Rancher, different such platforms. And when you keep doing that, you want to know whether your applications is going to be resilient to failures like this. So you might want to keep doing this kind of chaos quite regularly in your staging setup, which really mimics your production. Or people like Netflix and Facebook and others do it on production. They have a lot of confidence on their systems, and they have done this a million times in their own setups, in their own staging environment. So they're pretty confident about doing it in production and actually sort of vaccinating it and really knowing the unknowns. So there are some known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns always in your deployment, which you can always uncover using the chaos experiments. So this was about a very quick representation of your chaos experiment. Again, your experiment is completed and it's all going to get cleaned up. So all this cleanup, what are the app filters you want to enforce, etc., can be determined in your chaos engine options. I'll be happy to take more questions on what all you can do as part of your engine definition and what else can be planned. So I'm just going to cut short this demo because all we're going to do subsequently is a cleanup. Before that, we'll just look at this chaos engine to just show what all we capture as part of the schema. So you can see that we are capturing the status, and there's some execution time. And then there's a job which actually ran the experiment and things like that. So these schemas are all getting continuously evolved. So you can always participate in what you would like to see. Coming back to the presentation, so this is what we are actually coming up with. This is what is going to get added over a period of time. There is increased monitoring support, different dashboards coming up for chaos, and deeper support for other platforms and runtimes, and some SDKs which will help you bootstrap your own chaos experiments in different languages, and more off-the-shelf experiments, and ability to do workflows with other tools. There's integration with Argo, which is a popular workflow project, and then providing these experiments as GitLab templates and actions so that you can start integrating them into your pipelines with minimal effort. And there are a lot of other things which are there. So please join the community on Slack, and there are meetups that happen every month. You can also participate in that to learn more. Yeah, that's all I had as part of this demo.
Thank you, Karthik, for the wonderful session. Let's move on to next speaker.